I'm Patrick Vernon. I'm a campaigner, activist, culture historian, but also I've worked for many decades working in the field of public health, mental health, racial inequalities for black and racialised communities in the United Kingdom. I do want to recognise the work of Diverse Cymru for the fantastic they're doing around the culture competency programme, which is aimed at bringing the standards of culture competency for NHS organisations as well as statutory bodies and the voluntary sector. And it's really great that all the health boards in Wales have signed up to this. The competency programme itself is quite comprehensive. Probably one of the few schemes in the UK which looks at a whole approach for organisations around looking at issues around diversity, and particularly around race equality. This is really important. And I think the theme of my presentation is about recognition and race equality. If you look at the history of Wales and the broader history of the United Kingdom, we've had a long struggle for racial equality. The black presence in Wales is really important and has been documented by a whole range of academics and institutions. And it's really great that only recently that black history has been properly embedded in the national curriculum, which we're still behind in England for a change. But I think what's important in the field of mental health inequalities and race, it is really critical that organisations are competent. They have a workforce that understand the needs of black and racialised communities and the nuances of black and racialised communities in terms of the protected characteristics and intersectionality. This is really, really important. I came back from America quite recently. I was there for about 3 weeks and I was invited by the US government, and we looked at race equality projects, went to Washington, spent 2 weeks in the Deep South in Alabama, Oklahoma, and then Chicago. And what's quite clear, they're having the same conversations that we are around tackling health inequalities, particularly around the issue of equity. Equity is, it's really important. We've gone beyond equal opportunities or equality. It's actually around equity. And part of that process around recognising equity is recognising historical structural racism and its impact on black and brown people, and what you need to do in terms of commissioning, service development, and more importantly, leadership to take that agenda to the next level. This is a challenge which all organisations are facing in the West, and particularly here in the United Kingdom. And that's why this competence scheme, which has clear metrics, has a clear vision, and a clear way to engage staff and organisations is quite important. So I'm very supporter of that. And it's been recognised really with a number of awards over the last few months as well. So I wish I was here in person to see the winners and see the team that are behind it. But I know that they have laid down the foundations for all of us to learn from this work. And more importantly, what we need to do now is to further take forward issues around racial equity in society. I know it's not for the faint-hearted. It's really hard work. And what we now need are allies. Black and brown people are tired of carrying this burden for such a long time. We need mainstream organisations, white leaders to now step up and actually say, I'm going to be a good ally. I'm going to listen to those lived experiences. I'm going to be board champions. I'm going to amplify the voices of others who are marginalised. I'm going to create the opportunity and the space that around tackling issues around psychological safety. So those voices, so people can bring their authentic self to work, that services are delivered, that service users, carers, and the wider community feel valued and respected, and that they know that if they're getting a quality service, they will be treated with respect and dignity. This is not rocket science, to be quite honest. It's kind of things that we should be doing from decades ago. I mean, the NHS was established in 1948 at the same time as the Empire Windrush docked in Tilbury. And over the last 75 years, as we approach the 75th anniversary of Windrush next year, along with the 75th anniversary of NHS, we should be embedding a culture of compassion. We should be embedding a culture of equity. We should be embedding a culture of inclusion. So we've still got a long way to go. So I think that the certificate, the program that's been devised by Diabetes Cymru, and I hope other organisations will take the mantle across the United Kingdom, that we need to put in the structures, the metrics in place, and to create the spaces and opportunities for staff, frontline staff and senior management to learn about not just inequalities, but how they can actually use those opportunities to really take their organisations to the next level. So I commend this important piece of work in Wales. You're leading the way, you're trailblazing, and I commend you. And I wish you well for the rest of the day and the conference and in the months and years to come in terms of how this can be embedded and cemented in the delivery of high quality health and care.